All right, YouTube, this Detroit's HPTV come to you out of Detroit, back with another video on this Saturday afternoon. We gotta talk about the fire in California. California is burning. Y'all remember the song by Chuck D and Public Enemy, Burn, Hollywood Burn? I guess that's what we're getting the chance to see. But what we're going to talk about today is how the Democratic left, the leftists, are trying to say that the truth about what's going on in California is a right-wing conspiracy. The lack of water in the reservoirs, the fact that they laid off all those firefighters, the fact that they wasn't cleaning up the leaves in the grounds that were burning, the fact that fires are intentional, all these things that they're saying is going on in California, they want to call a right-wing conspiracy. Even after losing the election, even after all the lies that they pandered to the people, they still want to give out disinformation and misinformation while they censor conservatives, while they try to block the First Amendment and your freedom of speech. And they send out the same old bootlicks, they same old Democratic plantation workers. Roland Martin is going to tell you that the DEI hires in the fire force in LA is not a problematic thing, to where they had these individuals, including the mayor, who didn't understand that California has fires every year. So why wouldn't you take precautions to make sure there's water, to make sure you got enough firefighters, to make sure your fire trucks are not broken? Isn't that a priority, you would think, while the mayor is on vacation? Her city is burning down, and she screams now, they want me to resign because I'm a black woman. It's racism. Not the fact that you're on vacation and your city is burning to the ground and your fire trucks are broken and there's not enough firefighters, and it was going to fire hydrants and there was no water, and you were on vacation and didn't even know your city was burning down, and the people want you fired because you're a black woman, right? See, the Democrats, they'll never learn. They use the same playbook. If you try to hold them accountable, it's racism or it's misogyny. There's never any real accountability. And then they send their shields and their bootlicks out to give you cover. Whose mind are they playing with? People like Roland Martin. I want to show you a couple of clips. We're going to start with Roland Martin. Then I'm going to show you what the fire chief actually says about the mayor. What she actually says about her firefighters that went to pumps or fire hydrants that had no water while the city was burning down and the mayor was on vacation. And these Democratic shields are running cover over a natural disaster, bad leadership, no accountability. Everything is always someone else's fault. While the American people suffer, while the citizens' lives and livelihoods are in danger, they playing the blame game. Let's start with Roland Martin. Watch the next clip after I show him. Listen what he says and watch he be debunked in real time. He's going to get in front of you and lie in real time. Check this out. This is for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act for education and commentary and the First Amendment. Check this out.
And not really understanding how these things happen. But here's the other thing that people have to realize. This is a story in the I'm going to pull up in a second in the San Francisco Chronicle talking about this, and there's so many things. First of all, here's the thing: when you're talking about Pacific Palisades, Los Angeles, Santa Monica, Malibu, like a whole bunch of people have been out here complaining about Mayor Bass. What are you doing? First of all, Santa Monica and Malibu. Last I checked, that's not LA. If I'm correct, I think they have their own cities. The second thing that you've seen is you've seen lots of lies going around. There are all these reports that first came out saying that, oh, Mayor Karen.
You could tell he finna lie. You hear him going, trying to get it out. He's finna tell you a lie. Because people want Karen Bass to resign. Wouldn't you want your mayor to resign if your fire trucks were broken? The fire hydrants had no water? You laid off so many firefighters that you grossly understaffed? But it's racism. I know. The usual suspects. Listen to them.
Asked in the Los Angeles City Council cut the fire department budget by $17 million. Well, we know that is an absolute lie. It's a lie. It's a flat out lie. Reese, you dropped the video earlier today breaking that down. And again, this is what happens. You even had the MAGA publisher of the Los Angeles Times push this crap out as well. That billionaire was too stupid to even ask his own reporters what the.
Roland Martin is terrible. How did he know that that reporter is MAGA? Anything that comes from a conservative position that goes against the Democratic narrative is MAGA. It was misinformation that criminals were coming across that border from Venezuelan prisons and other places until you start seeing them take over condominiums, terrorizing the citizens, committing crimes, heinous crimes. And they still lied. They ran a whole campaign based on lies and debauchery. Coming out of Hollywood, too, coming out of California. That's why they brung out Magic and all those stars to try to convince you to vote for Kamala Harris to cosplaying Chameleon. Look at what he say and watch how quick I debunk everything he says.
Truth is, and so he goes on social media advancing the lie.
Well, the lie is the point, because one thing we know is that Republicans are never going to let a crisis go to waste. And so when people are, fleeing for their lives, they're trying to take whatever valuables they can find. Republicans are using it as a way to attack DEI and to attack the Black woman mayor of Los Angeles. But to your point about the $17 million, what it did is.
Y'all got to be tired about this. People are attacking the Black woman mayor whose city is burning down while she's on vacation, and her fire hydrants don't work, and her fire department is grossly understaffed, and people are losing everything, and she has no answer for it. And you think they want her to resign because she's a Black woman? Really? Aren't y'all tired of these race hustlers? They have gotten rich off stirring your emotion and pointing everything out as racism. Racism has become the new boogeyman. You can't find a country in this world where there's not bigots. There's bigots in every country in the world. But they're not the majority. They're the ones that suffer from mental illness. Because to be a racist and to think that you're better than somebody based on skin color is a mental illness at this point in a global society. But listen to her some more.
It takes a kernel of truth, strips it of context, and then it preys on people's misunderstanding of a complex budgeting process. As I said on my video online yesterday, here's the thing. A budget is not a blood oath. There is nothing that precludes the Los Angeles Fire Department or any other department from going over their budget. It is simply a measuring stick. It is simply a method for the city to plan which money is going to go where. But budgeting is not the same as funding, and it is not the same as expenditures. And so what I pointed out in my video yesterday is that for the fiscal year 23-24, they actually exceeded their budget by over $90 million. So the fact that they have a budget doesn't necessarily mean all that much. But what I didn't know at the time of my video was,
see, this how slow she is. If they exceeded their budget by $90 million, wouldn't that be something you blame on the mayor's office? Doesn't the mayor oversee the budget for a city? You know, I'm starting to realize that the Democrats think the people that listen to them are dumb. Because she said that, and she's proving a case of mismanagement, not racism, mismanagement. 90 million over budget for your city, to the point to where your fire department and things you need to serve the citizens that pay taxes are inadequate to do their job. Watch this. Let's listen to some more.
I've since dug into, because Politico reported that there was an extra $50 million that was allocated to the fire department. I did some digging, and I actually looked at the financial reports. There's a financial status report from the city attorney's office. I think that's the right name, city administrator officer. I'm sorry. And I dug into the numbers to find out exactly what this $50 million was about, and to ensure that I had my facts right. And here's the thing. Was there a budget increase as a result of changes that came about? No. But what it does reflect is that there was additional expenditures that were given or that are allocated to the fire department. $36 million above the budget is allocated now on an expenditure basis to the fire department. And so the whole idea that we shouldn't even be talking about a $17 million cut when they're already $36 million over their budgeted amount. So that $17 million has been wiped out. And that is simply for things like salaries and overtime and contractual services. And so the other part of it is that there was an MOU with the labor union, the fire department labor union, that was also negotiated that added $50 million of expenditures being set aside for the fire department. So we're talking about $90 million over the budget. And I will just read to you a little bit of the report where it says projected overtime spending is due to higher than anticipated resources deployed to wildfires and Tropical Storm Helene. Now, for Helene, there's going to be a reimbursement for some of that stuff. But the whole point is that when shit happens, you get more money. So nobody has been able to provide any kind of evidence about a specific deficiency that was preventing the fire department from doing anything.
This is where I'm going to stop. She says nobody has been able to provide any evidence that there's a deficiency in the fire department, right? That's what she just said. Let's listen to the fire chief.
And it's not. Tell me what I...
Now, mind you, she says nobody has provided any evidence that there's a deficiency in the fire department. See, this is how these Democrats are. This is how the left is. Do they really represent the people? Do they even do their homework? There's no evidence that there's a deficiency in the fire department. Let's check out what the fire department chief says. You think she would know, right?
Looking at this is memo after memo after memo, including the mayor said it didn't affect your ability to respond.
Obviously, any budget cut is going to impact our ability to provide service. At this point, that is a ground truth. Sounding the alarm that the fire department is underfunded, understaffed, and under-resourced.
Did they fail you?
Yes.
In this video today, the Los Angeles City Fire Department chief threw the mayor under the bus, which some people are reporting has gotten her fired. Also, Mark Zuckerberg met with Trump today and dropped a bombshell announcement. And Gavin Newsom is trying to save his you-know-what. These stories and more in this video. Let's start with what the chief had to say about the mayor.
Did Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city?
It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say justifiably what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
That is our job. And I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs.
Did they fail you?
Yes.
Now, let's give the Los Angeles City Fire Department chief some credit because she didn't have to say any of that. She didn't have to do the interview, and she definitely didn't have to answer questions because what do they usually do? They say that everything's fine, everything's going according to plan, nothing went wrong, etc., etc. So I do want to give credit there. Now, a lot of you guys say she still needs to resign herself, uh, and that may be fine. But the point being that she's bringing attention to, which she may get axed regardless, right? Is that the department has been underfunded. But wait a minute. Everything we've been talking about is labeled misinformation according to the governor, right? And now you got this fire chief throwing the mayor under the bus and exposing the truth. Now, for the people in the back who claim that she's just trying to stir up more drama, she brings the receipts. Look at this.
And let me show you real quick. Photographer Tony Buttigieg, I'm going to ask you to pan over to that table. Tell me what I'm looking at. This is memo after memo after memo, including to the Board of Fire Commissioners, where you pointed out your concern that you were not going to adequately be able to respond to a wildfire, an earthquake, everything that we see precisely in the city.
Now, I know we just watched Roland Martin say that nobody has brought any evidence to prove that there was a deficiency in the fire department. He says that this was a right-wing conspiracy theory. But the fire chief is just showing you right now, memo after memo, where she said that her department that she runs was inadequate to face disasters because of not enough firefighters, not enough trucks, and overall deficiency in her manpower. But I know you just heard them in the beginning of this video tell you that this was a right-wing conspiracy. And this was racism. This was race hustling. And in all actuality, these people have lost their homes and everything they own out there in California. And the left is still trying to cover it up. Out there with Newsom, who had aspirations of actually running and being your president. That's like y'all wanted Kamala Harris to be your president, even though she can't even account for $2 billion that she went through in 3 months. Y'all gonna keep voting for them? They keep being exposed. They just get in front of you and say anything. At this point, anybody could debunk what they say. This is why they work so hard for censorship and suppress videos. They want to shape the narrative. But let's listen to the fire chief.
My job as a chief is to take a big step back and understand where and how can we better serve the community. As a community needs more, we need to have more to make sure that our firefighters can serve them. I identified early, my team identified early, labor identified early that we have service gaps. So when you talk about sounding the alarm and asking and requesting budgets that are easily justifiable based off of the data, real data, shows what the fire department needs to serve this beautiful city and the beautiful community that we swore that we would. That's what that is about. It is the follow-up. It's showing and justifying where our gaps are, and it's raising and sounding the alarm that the fire department is underfunded, understaffed, and under-resourced.
It's like as soon as I'm done talking about this story, another bombshell is released, right? And so she has been making her rounds on the different networks and bringing attention to the fact that, yes, the LA mayor definitely failed the fire department, and there is no question about it. And she should be held accountable, just like the rest of them, including Gavin Newsom. And for the people who were trying to claim that the budget cut exposure or bombshell story was misinformation, she also confirmed that that did hinder their ability to respond to this fire. Let's listen to that.
The mayor said it didn't affect your ability to respond. Did it affect LA City Fire's ability to respond, starting with the Palisade fire and then this domino effect of fires, including the Archer fire that we're seeing happen right now in Granada Hills? Yeah, I think obviously any budget cut is going to impact our ability to provide service. That's at this point, that is a ground truth in regard to our ability. If there's a budget cut, we had to pull from somewhere else. What does that mean? That doesn't get done. There's delays. So in the end, again, I'm going to focus on getting us what we need from this particular catastrophe and disaster and how much it's impacted the communities that we love. I got to go after the things that will help our firefighters, keep them safe, and make sure that if and when this ever happens again, that we're properly funded and that we have the ability to do our jobs and keep people safe.
So at this point, I mean, she pretty much just ended that mayor's career. I wouldn't be surprised if someone tried to get the recall effort going after this entire event wraps up, because this is just pitiful. I would understand if you were cutting the budget of a department that isn't based on people's life, right? And whether or not they are going to be able to survive based on the emergency response. I mean, people don't understand the fire department. They don't just respond to fires. Okay. When someone calls 911, usually it's the fire department showing up first. So they need the resources, they need the people. And so she gave this party message to the mayor because this reporter was relentless. I'm telling you, she kept digging at this chief. And here's what the message the chief had for the mayor.
What is your message to city administrators, starting with Mayor Bass? My message is the fire department needs to be properly funded. And it's not. It's not at this point, and we've got the justification. We know where our gaps in service are. We know we need 62 new fire stations. We need to double the size of our firefighters. The growth of this city since 1960 has doubled, and we have less fire stations. Let's repeat that, because those numbers are a little jarring. 20 years ago, you had more fire stations than you have now? We had 112 fire stations. Now we have 106. And since 2010, we've had an increase, doubled our call volume, which is firefighters responding to calls, 55% increase with 68 less firefighters.
Now, I'm going to just tell you guys this, because I was in the military, right? So technically I worked for the government. Anytime you work for the government, city, county, state, federal, or in the military, this is the same issue you always have. There seems to always be a lack of funding, a lack of manpower, a lack of resources, and they want you to figure it out every single time. Again, the problem in this scenario is we're talking about the fire department, okay? These are people that obviously the citizens depend on in an emergency. So maybe other agencies, it would make sense to have that type of culture. But when it comes to the fire department, this is negligent. Now, speaking about culture, the mayor just called the chief into a closed door meeting. Now, we know what this is all about. Check this out.
There's growing criticism and a one-on-one interview with NBC4's Robert Kovacic. LA Fire Department Chief Kristen Crowley has now been summoned to meet with Mayor Karen Bass.
He joins us live from LA City Hall with breaking details you'll see only on 4. Robert.
Michael and Colleen, you are exactly right, and I am going to quote you here because that is what sources told us. It is a complex and perhaps head-scratching moment in the firefight going on right now throughout the city of Los Angeles. Sources told NBC4 that Fire Chief Kristen Crowley this afternoon had been summoned to Mayor Bass's office, and that is where we are right now. We are standing outside of the office where the meeting that took place at 4 o'clock is still underway.
Now, just moments after that closed door meeting, it is now being reported by the Daily Mail that the mayor did fire the Los Angeles Fire Department chief. So this is getting out of hand at this point. Now, before I actually read you this article, understand something. The mayor has not come out and confirmed this. In fact, there are other reports that says that the mayor...
Yeah, we definitely want to say it hasn't been confirmed that she fired the chief. She just called her into the meeting, and the chief had been saying goodbye to her firefighters. So we're going to be accurate to see what happens. But as you can see, the fire chief told exactly about all the deficits, all the misfunding, and brought her receipts. So why are the Democrats sending out their bootlicks to run cover and to call reporting a conspiracy theory from the right as people suffer losing their property? Talking about misinformation, disinformation, fake news. This is why mainstream media is dying. This is why people no longer trust mainstream media. They get in front of you and they paint a narrative regardless of what the facts and the truth are. Let's look into some more.
Is denying this. However, this is being reported, so this could be true, it could be false, but let's just read it for entertainment purposes, okay? The LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley is dismissed by Mayor Karen Bass after scathing criticism over Inferno response. It says here that Kristen was summoned by Bass this afternoon about 4 p.m. She came back from that meeting, hugged her staff goodbye, and left. She said she was fired, the source said. The alleged booting follows Crowley lashing out against the mayor, cuts to her department in an interview with a local Fox TV station around 12 p.m. And we already played you those clips, but why don't we just say it one more time? My message is the fire department needs to be properly funded, and it's not. And this is exactly what should be said, but think about this. You want people to be honest.
I'm going to end on that note. Who would know whether the fire department is properly funded more than the chief of the fire department, who had memos? She had all those memos that she had sent to the mayor's office saying that there was going to be a problem with response time and ability to any disaster, including earthquakes. And at this time where California was burning, the mayor was on vacation in Africa, allegedly, and while people called for her to resign in that city, and you see people suffering, she comes straight out and plays what? The race card. They want me fired because of racism and misogyny, not because of my inability to respond correctly to those memos and have an adequate fire department in California. Tell me it ain't so, Roland Martin, mainstream media. This was a right-wing conspiracy. No one has any facts. Knock it off. Well, this is Detroit's HPTV signing to you out of Detroit. Support the channel, support the nonprofit Detroit's Black Thought and Action Collector. The Cash App is in the channel description. As always, salute to all patriots. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace. Keep your head on a swivel.